Good morning, everybody. I have been thinking about all of you and am trying to find my way, as I'm sure you all are, in our new reality for the time being. And I'm calling this first little video I'm doing The Beauty of Imperfection, because it certainly is an amateur effort and a solo effort on my part. But today I want to share with you a little bit about starting a commission painting. I have a small one to do of a beautiful farmhouse from Virginia. One of my childhood friends I had reconnected with, and the show I've done in Abingdon, Virginia for 20 years commissioned me to paint her beautiful farmhouse. So I'm going to show you the first steps today. And I'm going to be tipping the camera down so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll continue to talk, but you won't be seeing me. So here we go. Here's the first step. I hope that's going to be a good view for you. This is the farmhouse. So I have first, in preparation for this, of course, talked with my friend about what she wanted, and we just decided on a long skinny painting. And I've got a piece of paper. It's cold pressed watercolor paper, but I want to make it a little bit more, not quite so long. So I'm going to show you how I would tear something. I want the painting to be about this long. So I'm just going to fold the paper over, press, and again, this is 140-pound cold pressed paper, and give it a couple of more hard creases and carefully tear. I like to do it this way to have a beautiful decal edge on every side of the paper. It gives the painting a more authentic feel. I don't always do this. Sometimes I have a straight edge, especially if I'm working on a block, watercolor block. But this is from a sheet of Arches Bright White 140-pound. And I want to have this proportionate to what my idea is for the painting. Sometimes I'll mark the back of the sheet with a B, because once it's away from the watermark, it's really hard to tell the front from the back. And I've certainly painted on both sides many times, and it works out okay. So when you're tearing this, you do have to be careful. You can end up tearing into your sheet if you're not careful, or if your crease is not quite crisp enough. And the paper, of course, it's cotton fiber, so you're going to have a variety on the reaction to your tears. So here's my paper. Here's my setup, typical setup. I've got my water, my palette, the photograph I'm going to be looking at, and my brushes. I normally use round brushes for the most part. And this is a number 6, number 10, number 12. And they're sable brushes. And when I get ready to start painting, I center myself and get everything in a layout that works the most easily for me. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder or behind me or that kind of thing. And I'm going to have this photograph where I can see it. Unfortunately, I don't think you'll be able to see it, and I also am going to make this painting longer. So I do have This photo I'm also working from, and another one here, because this has this little outbuilding that we wanted included in the painting, and this little building along with the beautiful house. This again had the barn further down. I might try to include the old barn. And then the photo I'm using as a reference, I liked the angle of the house here, so I'm adjusting a little bit. So I'll have all of these references at hand, and I can use them as I start to lay out my piece. So the first thing I have to decide is about how big is this farmhouse going to be in relationship to the rest of my space on the painting. And since I don't do preliminary drawing, I have to really think about where things are going to be and how big they're going to be, and the major thing where it's going to be, which is the farmhouse, and how big it's going to be in relationship to the paper and to the other things I want to include in the painting. So this little outbuilding, I think she told me that is a smokehouse. And then the house, the farmhouse. This little building is a granary. And then, of course, the barn, if I have room, I might have a little bit of it peeking out over here. So, in general, the house is up on a slight rise. I want to show that. So, it's going to be around here. Just around here. So, first step, I'm going to start with the roof. The roof's got great angles, and it's sort of a very palish gray blue, so I'm going to get some water going here. This is cerulean, just a little bit of that. And I'll add a little cobalt. I want it to be very pale, and I also want to tone it down a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of this Venetian red to it, just to knock it down just a little bit. Gray it down. There you go. It's about the color I like. So So there's my first shape. And as you can see, I do some referencing, just some general referencing for size and position, using my brush to, let's see here. I don't like that. I'm going to take that up. It's all about relationships. So this is where the chimney is. The other part of the roof comes in here, so there's just a little corner right there. Still wet. I'm gonna have to wait on that. So I've got my first shape in position, and That's really important. It affects all the rest of the painting as far as scale and size and position. So I've got to let this little space I changed dry, because otherwise this shape will have a fuzzy edge. So I'm going to turn this off. That's the first step. So talk to you later. Bye-bye. Remember, beauty in imperfection.